Well, thank you so much, LA, and thank you for joining us on today's Community Comment. We are down in the video pit, and we are joined, of course, with our very special guest this afternoon, Renae Henning from Community Care, one of the organizations, of course, that is represented within the Good Government Brands John Moser Children's Radiothon. Good afternoon.
Well, hi, Thomas. Thanks for having me in the studio today.
So we've had you on multiple times. You've helped us with your fabulous hand-waving abilities with the dessert auction.
That's right. That was super fun. I was happy to
so much
help.
Practice.
Yes, elbow, wrist.
The Vanna White book of presentations.
It was so great to bring that dessert auction back to the Radiothon.
It was
fun.
Really fun, and I realized that I knew very little about what Community Care actually does. I knew that you were very vibrant, you were high energy, you work with kids.
We kind of have to be a thing.
Is Community Care? And I actually got a little tour, thank you, of what Community Care is. Do you mind giving some history of your current building and what Community Care is?
Sure. We've been around the community since 1974. Our founding mother was a woman named Marilyn Paulson. She worked in elder care at one of the local nursing facilities, and she was noticing that there was a problem with staffing, like that mothers would have to not come to take care of the elders because they had problems with children at home, like maybe they were sick or they just didn't have the ability to come do that job. So she thought, well, gee whiz, why don't we see if we can help the working mothers so that we can do better for caregiving. So in time, she assembled a group of other like-minded people, and they formed Community Care. And back in the day, in 1974, it was a new concept. I think people still, even though women were back in the workforce in droves in those times, the women's movement and the sexual revolution of the 60s, which is well before my time, but, that kind of thing was happening. So I think Marilyn was ahead of her time by forming this child care concept back in 1974.
So 74, child care going to a group setting like the location you have now was kind of was a new idea, as you mentioned.
It was a new idea,
but the idea of having somebody sit or nanny for kids, that was really popular in the early 70s. I think in Alice and Brady Bunch.
Well, yeah, or more well-to-do folks who could afford such a concept, they could do that. But really, like, in our communities, it was a newer concept. So it grew small, and then it just slowly took off. And she, at one point in time, had Head Start. That's a federally funded early childhood program. She did some respite work. Like, that's why they called it Community Care. So back in the day, it was also very hard to have a space. So her and her board moved from a couple of different church-based locations, because churches are benevolent and they want to help, and they often have church basements and whatnot. So Community Care moved around town a number of times in the early days of what I found in clippings.
So
in the newspaper.
Community Care today is focused just primarily on children.
Absolutely. Yep.
And what is your age range at Community Care?
So we take children 6 weeks to 12 years. It's been a long time since we had a 6-week-old. Most mothers can find a way to stay home 8 to 12 weeks, but it isn't unusual terribly. I mean, it's just been a while since we had one that small.
Oh. Well, you're building the old St. John's Church, right?
Yes, St. John's Episcopal Church. They moved into a building over on Mill Street back in sometime in the 80s. And John Murray, who was the owner of Murray Funeral Home right across the street, assisted somehow, some way in getting the old church to become Community Care. So we own the building outright on the corner of Lincoln and Maple. It is a historical landmark. It had a board and batten architecture that's very unique to this area of the country. However, it was in ill repair, and one cannot have peeling paint around small children. So we decided the most economical way was to cover that. So that wasn't a favorable decision, but
Unnecessary.
necessary, yeah.
So community care, you guys are focused on child care. How is child care different from daycare? Are they the same? Are they different? Are they cousins?
Interesting that you say that. I have, and anyone that knows me will know that the word daycare makes the little tiny hairs on my neck prickle, because I don't
that, yeah.
take care of days, I take care of children. And I'm very passionate about that. It stems from a want for legitimacy in the work that we do. So when we ask to be called childcare providers or early childhood educators, we feel that that is a deeper philosophical, like professional terminology. And so I get maybe I get a little too about that, but daycare is a word that's in our vernacular. But it's kind of like when you think about in real estate, maybe we could ask Chris Klodowski this, do we call it the master bedroom anymore? I think we're shifting to calling it the primary bedroom, because the connotation of master bedroom sort of has that servant master kind of thing that really isn't today very, kind isn't the word, but do you get my drift?
I understand.
So it's kind of like my own personal movement to let's get everyone to understand the legitimacy and the very deep importance of early childhood, and call the people that work in that workforce teachers, because that's what they are, and early educators.
Well, as this country is now over 250 years of age, and a lot of that history has changed the taboos, beliefs, values, and language over that time, and shifted what a word means. And I guess speaking about that word teacher, how is that different from the word coach? Are you, because you mentioned how you guys are teaching social emotional skills. How is that the same as coaching those skills or training? How do you differentiate those different words and what they mean?
I think they are, I don't know that they're synonymous, but I think that coaching is something that a teacher does do. Let's say you're identifying your student is just struggling. How do you help that child understand what it is that you want to focus on? You don't berate them and you coach. You find a way to connect with them, whether it be for early childhood, like what are they interested in? Oh, they love Thomas the Tank Engine. I'm gonna find the game that talks about the different colors of James and Thomas and all the different the different characters, and we're going to really focus on that, and then we're going to learn our colors while we're playing. So thus you see how we're still coaching along, we're nudging. I think teachers are coaches.
But you're building out this learning facilitation of emotion, and that's really what this pyramid is behind us here, the Wisconsin Pyramid Model. And we've had this is on Daily Dodge TV. You can see this model. And we might be used to seeing the food pyramid. That has been phased out now.
Yes.
But it's nice to see that a pyramid is back in the classroom.
Yes.
And I think I like this pyramid a little bit better. So what is the Wisconsin Pyramid Model?
Well, I'm so glad that we are taking the opportunity to talk about the pyramid model, because we have invested at Community Care much time and effort over a number of years to ingrain ourselves in what this is. So when you look at a pyramid, where is the strength in a pyramid?
That would be the base.
Yes, the base.
The base of the pyramid.
So when we're looking at the base of our pyramid, when we're talking about small children and their learning, we have an early childhood personnel that those caregivers, they are the basis. They're the strongest. They're the ones that are building those relationships, right? So, which is our next one. So we have the families, all of these teachers and families, we're using the effective practices. We know systems that are in place that do the best for small children. Then as we go up, we have those relationships. We all know that having a caring relationship builds a brain. If we don't have caring relationships for those children, that all those stress toxins build up, and then we don't get our little bushy dendrites. That millions are being built every single day in an infant's brain. So when we have nurturing and responsive relationships with those children, our brains are working. So that's the next, and as we go up, we have quality supportive environments. So there's a difference in when you looked at perhaps a classroom that I have maybe versus any other classroom. What you're looking at, there's purpose in every single thing in the classroom. It's placed there for a reason. So, for example, in a classroom space, we aren't going to have a 3-year-old classroom that has a big loop so that 3-year-olds can go wee, wee in a circle and run around.
That might be distracting.
Right. So there's a methodology to the placement in an environment of an early childhood center. So that's what that is. Then as we go up, it's a little bit smaller, right? So it says targeted social emotional supports. There are kids maybe that are wired just a little bit different for whatever reason. So we're identifying them and we're giving them extra supports. We're monitoring them, we're tracking, we're kind of really thoughtfully looking at, wait a minute, he responds in a different way. That's not typical. What can we do to help him learn that skill? It's clearly a skill deficit he doesn't have. So we're targeting that through education, meaning we're taking more training, we're working with parents, we're trying to figure out how we can help that child achieve that next level of their development. And then at the very top is the very smallest amount of the percentage of children who need really intensive supports. Maybe there's something, they were born that way. They've had a lot of trauma in their life. It's whatever reason. That's a very small part of the children in any community. So when I look at this, and we have 65 children in our household at Community Care.
Yeah.
There's only a couple who are in need of this intensive. Most everybody's needs can be met through the other tiers of the pyramid. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So we have 4 different colors. We have the base, the effective practices, yellow, blue for relationships, blue for environments. Now, green for the targeted, and then orange for intensive interventions. So those are targeted for a very smaller percentage of the overall class. Everyone is getting the practices, environment, and relationships. What are those effective practices? Because that covers everything that you're doing. Those are the foundations.
Right. So we're looking at how we talk to children. Okay, let's be in a 2-year-old classroom, okay?
Okay, that sounds like fun.
All right. Don't run! Stop! Don't run! What do you think a child's going to do?
Well, now I want to run faster.
You betcha you do. So we're like, hey, are you inside or are you outside? Let's save our fast legs for outside. Let's be turtles now. Let's go like a turtle. Usually you can kind of snap that behavior out. How did I do that? In a positive fashion.
Yeah.
I wasn't yelling or, of course, they're going to do exactly what you don't want. Also, hurry up. Like the hurrier you go and whatever, and they're just going to just dawdle anymore. Right? That's something about little kids. So you're thinking about it in a positive fashion or giving choices acceptable to you and me. Like, hey, you're getting some resistance on let's go take our potty break now. We really should go potty and take care of our body. That's what that time is. I don't want to go. Okay. Well, okay. Could we go in 5 minutes or in 2 minutes? A child that young typically doesn't really have the mathematical or executive function to know about time, but they got that power.
Right.
You gave them that power. So being choices acceptable to you and me, that's a methodology that we use in the classroom to help. Let's see, some other ones that we use in the classroom are like problem solving skills, helping kids through simple social things that they might experience. There's a problem at the block area, and she has my block, and I wanted that first. Well, oh, what can we do? So intentional adults coming to that and facilitating a conversation between the two. How can we do that? Hey, Johnny had it first. Susie, what do you think we should do? But I want it. Well, it's his. And that adult is really coaching and identifying the emotion. I know you have that block right now, and you really want it. I see that. But what can we do? He has it. So we're getting kids to think. Now, this, you can't necessarily do this with a 2-year-old, perhaps, but with younger kids, maybe you won't have one of a toy, but you'll have 4 of the same toy.
Yeah.
Because we're not at a developmental ability to know how to share when we're that young. That's an emerging skill. So what we do in our training is we'll focus on different areas, like infants and toddler teachers. They'll maybe go to a professional development that really focuses on their age of child that they serve. And perhaps the preschool teachers, they'll go to another one. Same kind of philosophies, but how we deliver that to that age of child will be a little bit different.
So the bottom of the pyramid, it kind of works in both ways, because you mentioned the language of choosing which word to use, and it's no different than choosing childcare over daycare, of how we're using our language, giving choice and giving the power of choice, which is going to be a very important skill for every kid to learn.
Right.
As well. So it's targeted on how you respond to the kids, and also empowering the kids to have these very real adult-like conversations.
But I'm also going to hold children accountable for their actions in the best way that they can developmentally. Natural consequences is another thing. Oh, I hope that you'll be warm enough. We're headed outside. It's kind of cold today. Are you sure you don't want to wear your hat? Is that an argument I really want to get in with my 2-year-old? Let me think about this as an adult. We're going to get in the car. Do I really want to fight over the hat? And if they get cold, maybe they'll learn. When Mom said I should wear my hat, maybe I should wear my hat. I got cold. I didn't like that. There you go. You have a natural consequence, but you left that power struggle at the door.
Well, it seems like a lot of the examples that you've given, you're phrasing things as questions rather than commands, of trying to open a conversation rather than shut down a conversation.
Well, I think you'll get a little bit, what is it they say? You'll get farther with honey than vinegar?
Yeah, that sounds
I
about
think
right.
that philosophy does have a certain place in all of this. It's about building a relationship, too. As caregivers, I don't want any of the kids to despise me. And I don't think the kids at Community Care do, but they also have a safety with me that they know I'll hold them accountable for whatever's happening. Like, I see that you're having a really big feeling. Oh, you threw that block. Ooh, that's not a safe choice. We're going to need to talk about that. You know, so in the moment you're supporting a kid in a tantrum, how are you going to do that? If you're screaming and yelling and adding that fuel to that fire, it's like kerosene. There you go. If you can say, hey, you're really mad right now. Would you like some of my calm? I'm here to help. Let's breathe. Those are some techniques that we help teach kids so they can identify what they're feeling, so they can know, like, hey, when I get into this situation, I don't have to explode like a volcano. I know I can do this. I can do this. And then you can talk about it. Because can you talk about something when you're really, really angry?
Words tend to fail me more so. Yeah.
And so as an adult, I think I'd like to think we're more savvy, right? About a situation that makes us angry. We're not necessarily going to kick and scream on the floor. Are we? Sometimes sometimes I think it would be like,
Not
let's
on
try
camera,
that.
but-
Yeah, no. Where was I going with that?
But I do have a question about
Yeah.
so the importance of having a model, because that is consistent behavior for everyone using the model. They know how they're going to act, and they're communicating, and more importantly, they are treating every child the same way through the model. Because it'd be very confusing if somebody was using the model and somebody's not, and
Right.
that consistency. That is how important is consistency and having like a regiment or a model
Absolutely
for kids.
vital.
It is.
So in our center, so we have an age group, a classroom for each age group. So our toddler teacher, Miss Amanda, is going to use some of the same verbiage about being safe, being kind, picking up our toys, taking care of our classroom. She's going to start using those words. And you're like, 1-year-olds? What? You bet. When we start there, then as we go through the classrooms, we're using the same kind of verbiage about taking care of our school. Oh, we pick up our toys. Maybe it looks different in each classroom, but we use those same basic principles of what we value at our center. And we came up with those as a team, and that's how we felt like that all kids, no matter what age, they can learn what it means to be kind, be safe, to take care of your classroom. Those are our 3 things. And how you teach them at the different age groups is going to look different. Like when we're going to the potty when we're 3, do we go in there and we scream and yell and jump around and rah? That wouldn't be safe, would it? We might fall and hit our head on the toilet, right?
Well, it can happen.
It can happen. It'd be like the flux capacitor on Back to the Future. He hits his head on the toilet, right?
I forgot about that. That is.
Sorry, I digress. Anyways, so what we're teaching there is how we keep our body safe when we walk with our walking feet. So these are all consistent messages that we're hearing all through the time a child has at community care.
So the
And that's a
model-
part of this model.
Well, the model does not explicitly lay out like no running in the bathroom or something like
No.
that, but it's giving you guidelines to shape because it's a model that is made to improve upon itself.
Yes,
Kind of like we all are, but we hope to improve upon who we were yesterday.
yes, yes. But the basics, we're managing our strong emotions, we're labeling feelings, we're being kind, we're understanding the feelings of others. So over time, our experiences with nurturing intentional teachers is going to hopefully bring us this success by the time they leave our little nest and go off into the school district in kindergarten.
What you just listed out for skills. These might be some of the most important skills that people learn in their entire
These.
lifetime.
To me, these are the most important. Because if we can't manage emotions and we can't understand other people, we're not going to sit and learn how to read very well. We're not going to sit and learn our multiplication tables really well in 3rd, 4th grade or whatever. We need these as our basic basis of how we are in life so that we can add those other learning things later. Because if we can't do this, what if I'm frustrated, super frustrated, and I just throw a fit at my kindergarten teacher because I don't want to write my name. I don't want to practice my L. And then we're on the floor and we're like, what is she going to do? And for a kid who maybe hasn't learned any of those things or had that experience, that could happen. And you're thinking to yourself, what, a 6 or 7-year-old? Like what? But if they didn't have that teaching, they didn't have that exposure, they didn't have that time with intentional adults to really help them know that, how would they be able to know that and then consequently work on the next thing for their kindergarten teacher?
Going back to the big bushy dendrites
Oh, yeah.
in the brain that you were mentioning.
Yes.
When is the best time for a kid to learn all these emotional skills? What time in their lives are they most receptive to learning emotional labeling and managing emotions?
There isn't a best time, but the time between birth and 3 years old is the time that your brain is going to grow as much as it's going to ever grow. It's exponential. So the experiences that small children have in the womb and that 0 to 3, while that brain is forming, those are the building blocks, kind of like this pyramid here. So if we don't do it well, or if there's lots of trauma or stress, when that brain is building, those little neurons are building through the connections that they're making with a loving caregivers, and those types of experiences, then it's going to be a lot more challenging for that child. The road is going to be harder for them. So there really isn't a best time. It's consistent time. It's a consistent time through those early years to really provide kids exactly what they need for that social emotional growth and development to really shine.
So we're really thinking about this point in the conversation. We're talking about inside the classroom, and that's one part of child care. But outside the classroom, we're going to have to maybe wait another segment to dive into that. But I kind of want to get to that point because I want to know if somebody's using the pyramid model. Do you guys have like a certification? Do you show a pyramid outside your door?
Well, this poster actually hangs right in the entryway. It's right across from the pictures of all of our teachers and their educational levels. And we are a pyramid model fidelity site. So that means that we have through time achieved on a scale, on a objective scale, we've achieved a level of social emotional competence in our policies, in our curriculum, in our teaching, in our effectiveness with families. So we can't forget to talk about the fact that parents are children's first teachers. Like, you might think that we are, but no, we're not. It's the parents who bring those children to us. So without them, we don't have jobs, right? So we really need to work on our relationships with families, with parents, making those connections from home to school, including them in on what we know about child development, really making that truly a family environment. And that's what we strive to do. So, as you see, we get to know families and include them in activities and decisions. That's super important. That's like one of the first things.
So
it's in the classroom and families.
And the families. So fidelity, because I've seen that in some of the literature, what exactly does that mean in this context?
In this context means we have what they call quality standards, and I can't remember off the top of my head how many of them there are, like 48 maybe. And our team at Community Care, it's teachers, me, we sit down and we rate ourselves. Okay, how are we doing with this one? Maybe it's do we study negative behaviors to look for solutions? How well do we do that? Oh yeah, we have mechanisms in place. We have forms that we fill out. We meet with parents. We make behavior plans. Like, let's say there's a really challenging behavior that's really disrupting the classroom, but we know it's a skill deficit for this child. What are we going to do to support that child? We're going to involve that family. We're going to involve that teacher. We're really going to study. When does it happen? So that's one of the standards. Oh yeah, we got that. So we look through all of those standards and we rate ourselves. And so when we started the process, we were in the 50, 60%. So we had some work to do. And then we just sat down and whittled away at every standard. What else can we work on to do better? All right, we're going to do some training in anti-bias. We really need to hone in on that better. How can we serve all of our families and be culturally responsible? We did a whole training session on that with all of our staff. Put that into practice. All right, cool. All right, we got that. We did better at that. So over a course of 3 years, we whittled away at all the standards, and now we're at I think it's 85%. So we still have work to do.
Well, congratulations, but that sounds like a rather painful exercise in self-honesty and really kind of opening yourself up into what you are doing well and need to work on.
Well, it is. It absolutely is. And on a sidebar, we are an accredited center, which is also another set of standards based in child development, scientific based. But we've learned process improvement through that. And the Young Star program, which we could certainly talk about that too. It's a quality rating system in the state of Wisconsin. So we're accustomed to looking at ourselves and seeing what can we do better. And if we're looking at it through a lens of what's best for children and families, which is what we do as a staff, as a team, yeah, we're going to be successful.
I may need a juice box right now.
You might.
We covered a lot of material, the Wisconsin Pyramid Model.
Yes.
We need to kind of look at it from maybe a statewide, because there's so much more into this conversation about salaries, about what percentage of people's salaries should be devoted to child care, of trying to make ends meet and trying to make sure that our kids are having consistent upbringing, because it is not easy.
No.
And
it is not an easy
this
job.
is a conversation we will continue in our next segment. If you would like to add into the conversation, our text line is open, 885-887-9595, or you can call us, 885-4446. We'll be back with more Community Comment, also streaming Daily Dodge TV on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
As a plea deal falls apart, a special counsel appointed to the ongoing investigation into the president's son, Hunter Biden. Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss has been leading the investigation. Attorney General Merrick Garland.
As special counsel, he will continue to have the authority and responsibility that he has previously exercised to oversee the investigation and decide where, when, and whether to file charges.
Biden facing 2 misdemeanor counts, failure to pay taxes on $1.5 million plus of income in 2017 and 2018, and 1 felony gun charge. The death toll in the wildfires that swept across the Hawaiian island of Maui this week, now at least 55. Bosco Bay, one of the last to evacuate from Lahaina, the beachfront there, as flames reached the shore.
It was 100% a hellscape. There was so much wind going that the ambers looked like it was raining fire.
In a 5-4 ruling, the Illinois Supreme Court found the state's assault weapons ban constitutional, overturning a lower court decision. Dave Packer, ABC News.
The Pet of the Week page, where it's okay to use your baby voice. Find loving pets that need a forever home from the Dodge County Humane Society at dailydodge.com. Brought to you by Marshview Veterinary Clinic.
This is Keith from Beaver Dam Tire and Mayville Tire. Buckle up. Here comes your weather.
Chance for scattered thunderstorms this afternoon, otherwise partly cloudy. Highs around 83, west winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies. Tonight, chance for scattered storms, lows around 59. Daytime highs approaching 83. Tomorrow, mainly sunny skies and calm. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Currently, it's 79.
Now at Menards, save big money on your next project with 11% off everything. Keep your home organized with closet-made closet solutions. They're perfect for storing clothes and hanging accessories. Find the closet solution that's right for you and save big money. Right now, get 11% off all closet-made closet kits. Good through August 13th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
The WBEV Morning Show with Wade Bates and Sherry Sackett.
Your wife get upset with you about?
Well, I know there was one time she had a dream that apparently I had been dating several other women behind her back. Yeah, all at the same time, which I'm thinking, you know, good for me, I guess. She woke up, and then she woke me up by punching me in the shoulder so we could talk about it. And I was like, you realize this was just a dream.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm glad it felt real for you, but I got nothing out of that.
Weekday mornings from 6 to 9 on 95.3 WBEV.
This update sponsored by UW Credit Union, the local Wisconsin team that's always rooting for you. Step up your Brewers style with a limited edition fleece vest giveaway at the game against the Phillies on Saturday, September 2nd. Given to the first 30,000 ticket advance through the gates, courtesy of QB and Abraham. Grab your seats at brewers.com. UW Credit Union, here for every you. Join today.
It's time to lock in your tee time at University Ridge Golf Course. Proud host site of the American Family Insurance Championship and home to the Wisconsin Badger golf teams, University Ridge is a public course that's yours to play without a costly membership. Visit universityridge.com and reserve your 18-hole tee time up to 90 days in advance. Don't have time for 18 holes? Try our 9-hole putting green or hit balls on our grass tee practice range. Play where the Badgers and the pros play. University Ridge.
Looking for a rewarding career where you can make a difference? The world population depends on the use of the latest technology in agriculture, and the door is open to many new and rewarding career opportunities. Start a career with Central Ag Supply of Juneau and Baraboo, currently hiring additional service installation technicians in both locations. For a new experience every day, submit your resume to P.O. Box 93, Juneau, Wisconsin, 53039, or apply online at centralagsupply.com.
I've got some cheese curds that I'm willing to share. Then I want to ride that giant slide over there. So if you've got 11 days to spare, won't you come with me to the Wisconsin State Fair? Won't you come with me to the Wisconsin? Great state of Wisconsin State
There's something for everyone at the Wisconsin State Fair, presented by U.S. Cellular August 3rd through the 13th.
Wheel of Meat!
Every Monday morning at 7:40, listen for your chance to spin the Leroy Meats Wheel of Meat. It's full of specialty meat items. The Leroy Meats Wheel of Meat, Monday mornings on 95.3 WBEV.
Join Visiting Angels for Senior Sound Waves this Saturday morning at 8:30. Senior Sound Waves helps seniors and their loved ones be in the know, discussing issues that affect them and offering practical solutions. This Saturday, get to know Jana Stevens, administrator with the Watermark Community and Senior Center. Jana will talk about community activities, services, and events through the center. Senior Sound Waves, presented by Visiting Angels, this Saturday morning at 8:30 here on your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
Klodowski Real Estate will be live on the Radio Park stage at the Dodge County Fairgrounds on Thursday, August 17th at 11:10 a.m. Have all your real estate questions answered live by the team at Klodowski Real Estate. Thursday, August 17th at 11:10 a.m. on the Radio Park stage at the Dodge County Fairgrounds.
This is 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Let's go back to Community Comment with Thomas Ray Felt.
Thank you so much, LA. Yes, on today's Community Comment, we're learning about the Wisconsin Pyramid Model and more with Renae Henning from Community Care. So a couple days ago, there was a special announcement, a press conference from Governor Tony Evers about the importance of investing in Wisconsin's workforce and trying to acknowledge that there is a brain drain in the state of Wisconsin, people moving out, people not moving in the numbers we need, which means a lot of open jobs, open positions. How do we fill them? And his proposal was spending roughly $1 billion of the state's budget surplus towards that effort. $365 million towards childcare, $321 million higher ed, even $100 million towards workforce innovation grants. So we're spending a lot of money in childcare. I guess we can start with, why is childcare essential? And we kind of talked a little bit about the pyramid model, but why is it important? Why should we invest in childcare in the state of Wisconsin?
Well, what a wonderful question. We need, why should a family have to choose between a career and having children? Why do we need to do that? Some people would say, well, you chose to have children, you need to figure out how to pay for them. Okay, well, yeah, I get that. But if we look at where we're at as a workforce and what it costs to maintain a household, to drive a car, to go to the doctor, to buy groceries, people, two-family incomes have been on the rise since, I can't regurgitate the statistic, but I do know that 70% of Wisconsin's children are either in a two-parent working, like both parents are working outside the home, or a single-parent household. That's a huge percentage of children, like, that need a place to be, a place to grow, a place to go while their parents are at work. So, or do we say, nope, somebody in your household, dad or mom, you're gonna have to stay home until that kid goes off to school, but then we only go to school for 9 months a year. Like, so we're going to have a whole lot of adults that could really contribute to our Wisconsin workforce that can't because nobody's there to watch your children.
Renae, let me ask you this. Why should it be the government's responsibility, let's say, taking this approach, why should it be the government's responsibility to supply parents with a subsidy so they can make that choice? Why is it the government's duty to pay for child care for parents?
Childcare is a common good, in my opinion. Having the ability to have children cared for and nurtured and educated from birth on is a community's greater good kind of a thing. Like why is education start at kindergarten? Why is it just K through 12? When we talked about that brain development, that's the most critical time in learning. So to me, we need to think about where our very youngest spend their time. When we're looking at the ability that you can't make ends meet anymore if you don't have two working parents, like if you're not having those two incomes coming in, it's really tough. It's downright impossible. And what if there's some poverty coming into that? What if there's abusive relationships? Mother didn't anticipate she was going to be a single mom, but here she is. So why wouldn't we want to support her and all kinds of families? Hi, I got really excited there with the mic, didn't
we
I?
love the excitement. That's okay.
Yeah. So yeah, right now, when you look at the business of childcare, the wages that teachers make are lower than someone who has a job at the local Quick Trip. My sons, I had 3 sons that are young adults. They all worked at our local Quick Trip when they were 17, 18 years old. They were making more than some teachers at Community Care.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then why
Because the
don't
corporate structure, this isn't, the business of childcare isn't a supply and demand kind of a thing, like, or widget making, or a business that can make, big profits.
Yeah.
Because our ratios of care for the children that we serve are small, and you want them that way. You want these rules in place. Do you want to take care of more than 4 children under 2 years old at one time?
I'm going to say no.
No, you
That sounds
don't.
like trouble.
No. So there's ratios of care. So we have these constraints, which are important. So we have rules, we have regulations in childcare. Then there's the business of feeding them, so that costs. The business of caring for them. My biggest budgetary item is the employees. And they need to be educated. So you should go to 2-year or 4-year college, be educated in child development to make what?
To go into debt to make less.
$12 an hour, maybe $14 an hour. Like, this business model has been deteriorating for years because we're not recognizing that the teachers need that. They need to have a livable wage.
Right.
They need to be able to have a roof over their heads and grocery shop and go on vacations with their children and buy them shoes when they need it, but just like every other person. So over time, this is what's happened to our industry. So when COVID came and many of us had to shut down unless we were essential in a community. So in our community, we served 30-some essential worker families, but that was 50% of my staff and 50% of the capability that I had. Some centers closed completely because their clientele weren't essential workers. They got closed. So there was no income. What happened to their workforce? And as you know, we were closed for an extended period of time. So that's what kind of brought to light the crisis that's happening in childcare today.
So as a capitalist country, the United States of America likes to operate by a free enterprise system of finding a business, finding an industry and a job. And as you mentioned, trying to make the most profit. And a lot of that means increasing your revenue, lowering your costs. But that kind of reaches a snag with this conversation when the product is raising a child. And you can't really see the long-term benefits right now of that education, that social emotional intelligence, applying that pyramid model. You don't see that right away. But you don't want to cut the cost of your business to increase wages, because that also means you're cutting the costs of money put into your children. And I don't think any parent wants to say, yeah, please cut the cost of reducing what you're giving my kid. No parent's going to say that. So I guess it is so unusual as a market, as an industry. How else can you try and raise funds or sustain yourself without some sort of outside aid?
And that's where we're at today. And when you look at childcare as a business, when we're having hundreds, I believe in the last, I have some recent statistics about closures of childcare in the last, since June 1st, and I believe it's 68 have closed. That's a phenomenal, we're not opening new childcares in the same quantity that we're closing them. So parents, especially in our county, we call it a childcare desert. They can't find childcare because people can't make ends meet to pay the bills, to keep the electricity on. UW Oshkosh, for an example, they just had a childcare center, and they closed it. They gave their families 30 days notice because they said, we can't sustain quality childcare and make this financially feasible. Like, they couldn't connect the financial dots and the high quality. So they said, we have to close.
So how expensive is it then trying to open up a business? You mentioned accreditations and regulations. How expensive is it for a child care center in Wisconsin to actually meet all those accreditations, to meet the regulations? What does that look like? What does that cost?
Ooh, I'd have to really quantify that, but it's in the thousands a year. Extra because I need to have extra observations. I need to have, as the director, need to get into the classroom and see each and every teacher. I need to rate them on different standards so that we can validate that we are meeting the standards that the accrediting body says. We have licensing rules. So without supervision and that, so that's one added thing that we have to do. Just the upkeep of no peeling paint. It has to be safe. It has to be a certain temperature. It has to be this way. Like, there's a whole legislative manual about all the different rules. Those cost.
Something that really surprised me too was that, as you mentioned, I think a little bit earlier, that there are limitations to how many total kids you can have per teacher. So there is a limit. There is an imposed limit over how many kids one teacher. So unless you keep bringing in teachers, which costs you more, you're kind of limited. And really, if one teacher can only watch 5 kids, and those 5 kids cost, let's say, maybe $50,000 a year, that's still not to cover the wages, to cover the cost of the buildings, to cover the licensing. Like, I can kind of see where the math and the numbers here are not really making sense.
I had an intensive business seminar last spring. It was part of something that the state of Wisconsin did called the Dream Up Grant. And we were a part of that. In Dodge County, we worked collectively to try to come up with a solution for childcare. So it was a whole bunch of us together, professionals. Mayor Becky worked with us a lot. The Greater Watertown Health Foundation, we all in this community worked really hard together. And one of the things that helped me as a business leader in childcare is I got to do a deep dive into business practices and cost benefit analysis and whatnot, and discovered that not one of my classrooms is netting a profit. And in the business world, you're looking for, as they say, in the black versus in the red. So if you're looking at, and that happens a lot, because like your infant program, I told you that was 4-to-1, so I only have 4 babies. But then in my older classroom, I can have 12-to-1, for example. So those classrooms should balance themselves out, right? With, this is a higher cost because it's a very small ratio of children to adults. But then I can have, but it just barely makes it. So when the state invested in us through the COVID relief dollars that came federally, so many businesses, different kinds of businesses, were able to benefit from the federal relief funds, right? So in the state of Wisconsin, the Department of Children and Families chose to give financial support in this program called Child Care Counts. And so we were able to really focus dollars on operating expenses. A certain amount of the funding could go for that. It was very particular. And then another certain funding could go to the workforce to retain the teachers, because we know if we don't retain them, consistency, we talked about consistency for kids. If we can't keep consistent caregivers, that's not good for kids. So what are we going to do to maintain that workforce? Keep them there. We want to keep them there. So the state invested in a certain dollar figure of those COVID relief funds. And we advocated for that to continue past the prescribed time that the federal government said to use those ARPA dollars, those American Rescue Fund dollars. And this was a budget year. I don't know how much you study the Joint Finance Committee and all of the process that goes into our biennium budget, but this was a big topic for childcare this past winter, spring, as the Joint Finance Committee was deciding what would go into the actual state budget. And when you say that Governor Evers in his press conference the other day asked for we asked for $340 million for childcare counts.
$365 for
So
childcare.
he's going to bat again for childcare because the legislature did not include this financial stability program in the next biennium.
So if no new budget is recognized, or if a deal is not made, currently I believe child care accounts as it stands is set to expire by January of this year.
Yep.
Well, how would that impact community care going in 2024?
Well, back when we were advocating in February when the budget came out, so the governor proposes a budget for the whole state. Ooh, very big. And the Joint Finance Committee has the job of, all right, okay, let's see, what is he asking for? Our constituents don't want that, or that's the legislative process. They debate that, they look at that, they decide what's going to make it and what's not. And so we told the legislature back then that for me, it would increase rates 22 to 25% for families, because I don't know where else I'm going to get the funds to make that math equation work. So back then, we told them that, and that's what's coming to fruition. Parents at Community Care recently got a letter from me that said that me and my board of directors, we're a nonprofit, so we're governed by a board of interested parties in childcare who have a passion for what we do, and they help me decide different policy, and we are raising our rates 12% as of September 5th, which is it's a huge jump for parents. It's really putting a strain on what they are able to do and not do. Again, making a choice. What am I going to do? Like, I might have to change work hours. I might have to switch jobs. What am I going to do? So we're hopeful that the legislature will not gavel in and gavel out on September 30th, that they'll hopefully kind of take another look at childcare counts, because as a legislature, they can make legislation to say, okay, this program, we're going to start this program. We put our stamp of approval on it. This is how we're going to pay for it. Da, da, da. They can do that, but they can also say, no thanks.
Well, there really wouldn't be a lot of choice for parents right now if, I mean, your prices are going up. But as you mentioned, it's a child care desert, so where else do parents go? And there's no guarantee that there's going to be accreditation, that they're going to have these standards, that they're going to be consistent.
Right.
It's a very difficult position to be in.
It's very difficult, and it pained me to write this letter to these hard-working parents, and having a relationship with many of them that I do. You know, I know how hard they work. I know how some weeks are tougher than others. And I know the different roles that they're in. There's nurses, there's office people, there's teachers, there's police officers, there's, you know, like there's a whole gamut of professions that the families that bring to me. And it just pains me to see how hard it's going to be.
There's an interesting argument that kind of going back to why should taxpayers, again, why should the government fund through this? Why should taxpayers be paying for other kids to go through childcare and have that extra skill set? And interestingly, I did find, and this is one study, mind you, it was on Brookings, but for every $1 that was invested in a childcare facility, there was roughly a $4 to $13 return. And I guess thinking as a taxpayer, wouldn't I want a police officer who's pulling me down to have this ability to manage their emotions? Wouldn't I want these people that I interact with to be able to modulate themselves and to maybe contribute more, to have more of a desire to pursue higher education? And maybe that comes back around pitfalls, or maybe having more of a focus on physical, mental, and emotional well-being. And maybe that means lower healthcare costs down the road.
Absolutely.
But these are all
this is a greater good.
But it's very difficult to measure everything that I just listed.
Well, in that Brookings Institute one, I've often used that as a barometer. It's really hard to quantify, but again, when we're looking at our societal behavior and some of the things we hear in the news about beatings and I think the one I saw most recently that just really hit me was a gentleman, his job was to be the operator of a captain of a cruise ship, and he wanted to dock. I think this was in Alabama.
Yes.
Did you hear this news story?
I saw some of the video.
Like, look at, he was doing his job, and these other people wouldn't move their boat. They were not supposed to be there. He asked them to move. I mean, there might be more to this story, but just on the surface, it looks like, well, hey, wait a minute. If they could have learned the pyramid model, perhaps they would have been understanding of the feelings of others more. Like, why did we have to beat the man that was doing his job when you didn't move your boat when you were asked? Can we go back to preschool for a hot second here? Like, it just struck me as, what is the behavior of grown adults? I wouldn't expect my children in preschool to act like that. These adults were behaving in such a poor fashion against another human being. Like, move your boat, right? But, sorry if I go down a rabbit hole, but again, if we invest in practices that build kindness and understanding and knowing our own emotions, isn't that good for a society?
Well, the more we talk about this, I'm just kind of being reminded of the general plight of middle, high school, elementary school teachers. And there's been a lot of stories of kids that are really difficult. Kids are very tough to learn, and often it's 20 plus kids for one teacher. And a lot of these kids do not have the emotional background. They did not have the consistency.
Absolutely.
And so I guess it kind of makes sense, well, why are you surprised that there's problems right now? And parents are like, well, I want to pull my kids out of the public schools because they're failing me. Well, maybe we didn't invest prior to that point where they have those abilities to actually function in a whole group.
Well, and also in parenting skills and supportive relationships. Don't forget, supportive relationships for families and parents. What if those parents of those current middle schoolers and high schoolers that are misbehaving, maybe they didn't have this?
Right.
There's we could talk for a whole afternoon about the decay of the family unit and how that has changed interactions in families and consequently then in children, and poverty, trauma, all the things that children see and negatively affect them. I mean, those are all parts of this equation that, again, are a little bit hard to quantify, but at the heart of it, yeah, don't we want this for our community? Don't we want to have safe, nurturing places where people value that, where people value those little tiny learners? One of the words I used to our local representative was, he's posed at a pivotal moment, a historical moment to shine in a country, to make an investment. I mean, other states are making these investments. Minnesota just made a huge investment in early childhood. They're our neighbor. There's a lot of examples in America right now of people who are like, hey, communities are getting it. They're getting it. They're seeing the value. And I was just really disappointed that we just couldn't make it happen in the state of Wisconsin. So I'm hopeful that September 30th's special session nets something, if not more exposure for the plight of childcare, for the questions that you're asking. Well, why should we do this, Renae? Like, give me a really good argument. Well, let's go to lunch and let's talk some more.
I do want to circle back to September 30th, what this means in our last segment, but going to your point back again of families. Families are a lot different now than they were 50 plus years ago.
Yeah.
I've been told that I'm like a 60-year-old, I'm like a 70-year-old, and I think a lot of that is because all my free time was spent with either one of two grandparents or an aunt. But that's a privilege. Not everyone has these large families that are able to just take a kid in for an entire day while my mom and dad were able to go to work.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, we're at this point where if you don't have that security net, how are you going to be able to have more kids? And so, as you mentioned,
family sizes are so much
family
smaller.
sizes are smaller, which means that likelihood in the future is even less so of having an available family member taking a kid for a while.
Well, and I think that's a part of that societal shift, that societal change. You know, we're trying to get more. To make ends meet, we've got to have both parents in the workforce. Okay, so, but we also are a mobile society. Like, gone are the days where, I think, Ninja, you told us recently on the air that you spent a whole lot of time when you were younger with your grandparents and you were on the family farm, even though you might have moved, but you still had that connection. Not a lot of kids have that connection anymore because the families are moving. They're saying, oh, my grandma, she lives in Los Angeles, or oh, she's in Florida. I don't see her but a couple times a year. But back in the day, cousins were all together. Everybody had Sunday dinner with grandma at her house. She cooked. You know, those practices of families are different now. So who steps in? It's people like me.
Well, and a lot of families make these moves for economic opportunities.
Absolutely.
And now they're being punished by not having these family systems, and they're unable to afford childcare. It really just cycles back into it. So it's a very complicated issue.
It's very complicated.
It's one that you're right. We could very well lose track of the entire afternoon. So we'll take a quick break and finish up with our third segment as we're joined with Renae Henning from Community Care. And this is 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
Don't wait. Continue your orthopedic care today. For years, Dodge County has trusted Marshfield Medical Center Beaver Dam Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Now's the time to see why. We've expanded services, making it easier for you to get the care you need when you need it. Diagnosis, treatment, recovery. We're here for you. Marshfield Medical Center Beaver Dam Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Request your appointment at ortho.marshfieldclinic.org.
Stop by Radio Park for SENIORDAY Senior Day, Thursday, August 17th from noon until 5. Play free bingo for prizes, enjoy a cooking demo from Chef Chance at noon, and performances from the Seniorettes Palm Squad. A visit from the Dodge Jefferson County Honey Queen and the Swinging Beavers at 4. Senior Day is presented by Clearview and Surefire. Pick up your Senior Day coupon at Professional Floor Covering in Beaver Dam to receive $2 off your fair admission before noon. That's Senior Day live at the Dodge County Fairgrounds, August 17th.
Yes, I did know that it is hard to talk and eat without teeth. Whether it's fixing up what you already have or replacing missing teeth, Preferred Dental Partners can help. You use your teeth every day, all day. Why not make the investment into your health, comfort, and happiness? Teeth can help you improve your confidence and help you enjoy life and food more. At Preferred Dental Partners, we can offer multiple solutions to your dental problems without having to make multiple trips to specialists far away. Call us today to find out why we're different.
Chad at Air Care in Beaver Dam says he's got an air conditioner for your home that sips electricity and saves you money. The electricity sipping carrier air conditioner, along with the gas sipping carrier furnace, will save you money during the warm weather. It works together with a thermostat that communicates with the air conditioner and the blower on your furnace, telling them exactly when to sip the least amount of energy needed to keep you comfortable. Every piece of equipment is designed to work together, giving you control of your indoor comfort. Let Air Care provide you with quiet, efficient cooling and dehumidification all summer long. You can also take control of your system from anywhere with their smartphone app, providing peace of mind while you're away from home. Turn to the experts, Carrier and Air Care. You can find them at aircareinc.com or call Chad in Beaver Dam at 920-356-8860. Air Care, committed to your comfort for over 40 years. Reliability you can count on. Financing available.
From field to fork since 1973, Awesome Farms and Produce is turning 50 and throwing a celebration like no other. Join Awesome Farms and Produce for an incredible weekend of fun and festivities. On Friday, August 11th, get a first-hand glimpse of the heart of Awesome Farms and Produce with a plant tour. Then on Saturday morning, August 12th, lace up your sneakers for the Tater Trot, 5K, and 2-mile run walk. All are welcome to shop the vibrant Produce and Vendor Market tour, the Wisconsin Spudmobile, snap a photo with Spudley, enjoy kids' activities, and more. And when your appetite kicks in, satisfy it with the purchase of a brat and a beverage from 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge and 1430 ESPN. Afterwards, join Farmer Larry Awesome for a tour of the potato and pumpkin farms in Grand Marsh. So mark your calendars for August 11th and 12th and head over to awesome.com for all the details. Registration is required for the tours. Awesome Farms and Produce in Friesland, 50 years of excellence. See you there.
Spruce up your home this summer with the summer sale happening at Rompre's Carpet Corner. Receive a free pad with any carpet purchase. Plus, all in-stock carpet and luxury vinyl plank flooring are on sale too. That's not all. Save 30% on classy Graber window treatments, and Rompre's will measure and install them for you. Whether it's brightening up a living room or adding a touch of elegance to your bedroom, Rompre's Carpet Corner has got you covered. Don't miss out. Visit romprescarpetcorner.com or visit their downtown Beaver Dam showroom today.
There's lots to see and do at the Dodge County Fair. Fun for me and you. There's good times in the air.
When you close your eyes, picture Saturday night with the Night Ranger at the Dodge County Fair as they take the main stage at 8 p.m. The grandstands will be full all day Saturday, with the horse poles whipping the dust in the air at 9 a.m. and the tractor pulls at noon. Entertainment continues throughout the Dodge County Fair, side stages, and Family Day on the midways start at noon. And all that chainsawing you've been hearing, well, those carvings get auctioned off at 3 at Radio Park. It's all happening Saturday, August 19th at the Dodge County Fairgrounds. Daily admission $10 before noon, $15 after. Visit DodgeCountyFairgrounds.com for the full schedule of events.
So come on, everyone, to the Dodge County Fair.
Broadcasting from the 95.3 WBEV studios, furnished by Slumberland Furniture and powered by Daily Dodge.
This is Keith from Beaver Dam Tire and Mayville Tire. Buckle up. Here comes your weather.
Chance for scattered thunderstorms this afternoon, otherwise partly cloudy. Highs around 83, west winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies. Tonight, chance for scattered storms. Lows around 59. Daytime highs approaching 83. Tomorrow, mainly sunny skies and calm. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Currently, it's 80.
This is 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Let's go back to Community Comment with Thomas Rayfelt.
Thank you so much, LA. We are also on Daily Dodge TV. This will be saved for posterity as well in both the video and audio form. We're, of course, joined with Renae Henning from Community Care, and we did want to make a special correction about the special session in Wisconsin.
My dear colleague who's listening in today texted me and corrected me. The special session is September 20th.
September 20th.
Not
now,
the
this is going
30th.
to be gaveling in and specifically focusing
on the workforce development issues, those three-pronged things that he said, which number one was childcare,
higher education, and the workforce innovation grants.
Yeah. So that's what he's looking for the legislature to talk about.
So if this is an issue that a constituent really cares about, where or in what should they do to help push this issue forward and get something passed by the legislature?
If you are a parent, a grandparent, a business leader, and anybody that child care affects them in some capacity, or you're just absolutely passionate about early care and education, definitely contact our local state representatives and senators. Mark Bourne is here in Beaver Dam, and he represents our district. He and I have a fabulous relationship. We talk often, but he needs to hear from his constituents, and not just the one constituent that's sitting in this chair. So definitely contact his office. He's got fabulous staff. They will listen. But take that moment. Take a moment. Tell them that, yeah, I believe that you really need to look at how can you make this investment. Tell him. He works for you.
And he's always has an open ear as well.
He does. He's been a proponent of childcare for a long time. So, again, let him know that it's important to you. Because if we don't, legislators don't know.
And Mark Bourne and I had a great conversation a couple weeks ago, and he'll be at the Dodge County Fair next week, actually, next week, Friday.
Shaking hands, I'm
sure that this topic will come up in our conversation.
I hope it will.
Along with the other policy ideas that might be floating around.
Yeah.
But as we're talking about the Wisconsin Pyramid Model, about childcare, why it's important, all these different facets and angles, where can people go for some more additional resources and maybe learn a little bit more about childcare and some of the nuances?
Well, in Wisconsin, we have an organization dedicated to infant mental health. And I remember the very first time I heard that, I was like, wow, infants have mental health that we should be concerned about? And then I thought about it a little bit more, and I went, well, of course they do. It's that brain development. It's nurturing that, So you can, if you zoom in here, this is not every state. There are numerous states in the country that have adopted the national pyramid model. So you can go on the Google and find that, and there's tons of professional development, family resources. If I have a family who's struggling with a very specific topic, maybe it's we don't want to brush our teeth, we don't want to go to bed at night, we don't want to whatever, pick a topic in child development, there will be some kind of resource on there that I can find for them that'll really help them. Or if we're struggling as teachers, hey, let's dig deep. What supports are there for us? So the internet is just a fabulous thing. So you can go there. Also, I have another curriculum that closely aligns with this that I would love to share with your listeners a little bit more about, and it's called the Kindness Curriculum.
Kindness Curriculum.
Yeah. So this is a curriculum designed from UW-Madison. It was the Center for Mindfulness, and you might be going, okay, are you going to do yoga? What are we going to do? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So the the kindness curriculum kind of came out of how can we teach for it's specific to 4 to 6 year olds. So how I use this curriculum, and you can find it on the internet. Wisconsin Public Television actually kind of took over some of the they did a video piece on it, and they did a whole segment on professional development and different kind of snippets of this. So that's where you can find it. The kindness curriculum is at Wisconsin Public Television. Your own Katie Kramer, who works here, actually assisted me in this project many years ago.
Really?
Katie Kramer worked for the Wisconsin Public Television for a little while, and she connected me with some different folks because they knew that we had been doing kindness curriculum for a number of years. So I think I'm in my 6th year of teaching 4K. I do this once a week. So I come into the classroom as kind of like a support to the teacher, and then the kids get to see a different caring adult. And so we follow the curriculum, and every week we do a little bit more and a little bit more. So I brought some props.
I love props.
I thought you would.
Yes.
Could we just pretend like we're in preschool for just a little bit?
That's pretty much every day here.
Aw.
I don't know if you see me working.
You should ask some of my kids, my adult children. Mom, stop talking to me like you're at work. Well, okay. Anyways. So this is a pinwheel. And this is one of the props I use in the very beginning of coming to the classroom. So a pinwheel can go in a circle, right? How
Yeah.
can we make that go, Thomas?
Telepathy?
Well, or we could blow.
Oh.
Can you feel that? If you put your hand on your tummy and do you feel what happens to your body?
I'm deflating.
Yeah, but how do you feel right now? Do you feel calm?
My head does feel clear.
So let me teach you one more thing about that. So what we're doing is we're teaching children about how their bodies, how they work. So if you've got a kid who's super mad, if they're screaming, hollering, if they're breathing deep, they can't be screaming and hollering. Or as a grown-up, if you're really nervous, you're really upset, something, you just got some really bad news, okay? If you just take that, you can regulate your body. And so what we're teaching kids, they're not born knowing how to regulate their body. See that? So you're just, and a lot of times when I bring the pinwheel in, they're super excited, you know, they're woo, 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 you know, like that, right? So they're all, so we're teaching following directions. Okay, so that's one tool I use. Here's another tool, and you guys might laugh, but this works. And I remember the first time I bought this bell, I was like, okay, all right, I feel a little corny. This works. So one of the things I do after I teach the kids about the pinwheel and the breathing is we're going to practice. And every day that they come to visit you, we're going to practice our breathing, okay? And I'm going to invite the bell to help us.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do, I want you to put your hand on your tummy.
Okay.
We're going to take 3 deep breaths while we listen to the bell. Okay? And when we can't hear the bell anymore, then we'll stop. Okay? So I want you to, okay, are you ready? I only want you to start when you can't hear the bell anymore. I think I may have messed up that instruction. Okay, I'm a little rusty. So when you can't hear my bell anymore, so what I'm teaching.
Take a breath.
Yep.
Okay.
3 of them. Okay. So what am I teaching here? I'm teaching listening, mindfulness, paying attention. So they have to pay attention. Then they have to breathe 3 times. Okay? And
I'm so ready to be mindful right now.
Okay, are you ready? All right, here we go. And I'll do a little coaching on the side. I'm like, do we still hear it? Ninja, can you hear it? Okay, let's keep listening.
I still hear it.
Okay, put that hand on that tummy. Let's get ready, okay? And sometimes I'm like this. I can't hear it anymore. Ready? 2. And let's do a third. How are you feeling?
That was delightful.
Wasn't that great?
That was wonderful.
Now, see, I saw you before this show started, and you had a technical problem, and you were cool under pressure. But you got it fixed. But just think if you would have been able to take a second to breathe 3 times, right? Wouldn't that have been amazing? This is like pixie fairy dust on a group of 4-year-olds. I'm telling you what, once they practice this a couple times, holy cow, the whole room. And I do believe this is what a kindergarten teacher wants from me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So that's one of the things that we practice that. And we aren't always good at it, but we practice it.
Well, thank you so much, because we are now, I'm even calmer from when I started.
Aren't you? But that's what we're teaching our kids. We teach our kids the skills they need to address the things that happen in life.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of them. Learning to control your emotions, control your body, self-regulate. It's not something that we all know how to do.
Mm-hmm. We take it for granted, just like how to use our body.
That's right.
It's not something we're just born with an instruction manual.
Exactly.
Renae Henning from Community Care, thank you so much for joining us today. And again, if people are interested in more resources in this pyramid model, where can they go for more?
They can check out the internet. They can give me a call, or send me an email, check me out on Facebook. Well, how you can find me. I'm happy to talk about child development anytime.
Thank you so much again for joining us. This
Thanks,
has been
Thomas.
a wonderful community comment. It will be on Daily Dodge TV in case you missed it. And also you can listen to the audio if you just prefer a podcast. That will do it for today's community comment. This is 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
The Barnes